Welcome again to another version of Instagram Live. We're here from the Lightbridge with the summer team. It's hot out. I hope you don't hear the ventilation because in the studio here it became really hot today. So we're here today with Ebo behind the camera, Etienne's here to help, and John's here to help. And Etienne, I think you need to refresh the full page so I see the comments when they come up to make sure it works. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Awesome. Okay, cool. So we're here today to talk about rigging. We're here to talk about windows. We're here today to talk about and see what we need to do to create a beautiful light inside a room and at the same time have it really safe outside to know that not have any issues so we can create everything we want. So we got a lot of stuff prepared today. I'm going to jump right into this. At the beginning, a disclaimer. It's a little bit, here's our window. We're going to show it only from this perspective. So there's a little bit of explaining that's necessary. But I hope it's going to be good for you to see. And as always, we're all here for you. That's the reason we're here. We're excited to be here. So if any questions come up, I'm going to see it over here on the monitor. So here we go, rock and roll. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the basics. I know I'm showing the box a lot, but we need to look at this for a second. So we're going to take the box, as always. Here we go. I'm going to turn on the light. Boom. Okay, so what do we have over here? We have a box. Position's good? There we go. Position's good? Perfect. So this box, of course, gives us the feeling of a set, right? We have the lamp down here. We're going to light up the window, our topic today, and we're going to light into the room. So why don't we use a light? Why do we use a reflector? That's the big story today. So look at this. Light down below, reflector on the top, light on the wall, right? Beautiful. Okay, perfect. But now I want to move the light. I move the light over. See, all of a sudden, I am not having to move my light source. Virtually, my light source is moving all the way over. But because I just have to pan a reflector, it becomes so much simpler and faster to create anything you want in a room. That's really cool, right? So all of a sudden you save time because you don't have to move a light source. You just have to pan a reflector or tilt a reflector to get anything you want to do. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. But not about the light, but really about this part out here. That's been the request that we should talk about, to really talk about the grip and the rigging here. Now, another disclaimer, I'm a gaffer. I'm not a key grip. We have wonderful friends of Matthew's. They know much more about this, but I'll do my best, and I hope I won't be a disappointment to the Matthews team. Okay, here we go. There's one thing, coming back to lights again, that's really important. We have the light on here, and it's lighting up the window, so we can actually catch some light. But there's one interesting thing we have to look out for. See this up here? See the light on the top? That's pushing in. Actually, we're raking a window, so the light is coming from the window inside the room. But look what happens. If I take the light source and I pan it into the room, boom, you see how much brighter this gets? You see how many, that's my code, there we go. You see how we're suddenly getting light into the room just by raking the window, because the light very naturally is bouncing off the ceiling and coming into the room. So you can move all around the room, you can look out the window, it's going to be fine. I know you have some light coming from below, but because of the exposure outside from daylight, you will not see this. So this is the cool thing. But today is not about theory, this is about hands-on. So let's have a look at this, what we're going to do over here. Perfect, thank you so much. So this obviously is not a light source you would use when you're shooting outside, but it is like representing a light source for us. So I hope this does the thing. So main thing when we're lighting for windows, when we're rigging for windows, is to say, place the light source underneath the window. As soon as you have to move to the side, all your angles are going to become a little bit different. So I really recommend, if physically possible, just put the light source underneath the window. That's your part to start off with. Okay, so if I open this up again, I'm panning this away. Okay, so no lights hitting the window, right? Now I'm coming over and I'm starting to rake the window. More and more and more and more and more and more. See that? That means I'm getting more light, as I've shown you in the box before, onto the ceiling, bouncing into the room. Now this whole idea actually is not from me. I actually saw this visiting a David Fincher set. So what they did, they were shooting the 20th floor, really high up. There was no way to actually get light into the room. They were shooting it from outside. So what did they do? They put like an opal frost onto the window, really thin in the background. And then they put a big light source down below, and they started to rake the opal, and voila, all of a sudden, the window that was going dark got more light. And I thought, oh my God, this is incredible. We actually can use this window, even if we cannot put a light source here. Because think about this window being up a few hundred feet in a skyscraper. We can take a really strong light, keep it down below, and then push it up to the window, and we want to get some light inside. So obviously, this window that we're looking at here, right? This is very thin. It's from our studio. So Etienne prepared something to give us a feeling of the thickness of the walls. Now he's going to come back again to look at this. How do you call the moving stuff? There's a real technical term for this. It's called moving stuff. I'm not sure what you mean, but I hope this answers your question. Okay, here we go. So think about this here now being our wall, right? So just think about it. I'm in here inside the room. This is our location we're shooting. Hi, everybody. We're now in our 10th floor, really high up, and I'm looking outside. Of course, I've got a window here. Of course, I've got a wall, right? So this wall is really great, right? We can use gear, grip to actually move on to this. Just think about auto poles. You can put them inside the window. I can open up the window, I can go outside, I can put in an auto pole. I can use all kinds of plates to, maybe you can screw it into the wall, maybe use an auto pole, maybe there's something on the windows from the wood you can actually attach onto it so you can start to rig the reflectors from it. So that's the whole idea. I hope it's clear. I'm inside, you guys are outside. You're looking from a drone at me. This here is the thickness of the window, and we're now using auto poles, and we put them in here and secure them tightly to the wall so it's really safe, right? So what do we do now? What I'm doing now is I'm opening up the window to do something. I can't do this here, so I'm coming back out. On this auto poles, right, we're now putting grip. What I have over here now is, in this case, if it would be an auto pole, you would use a Mayfair clamp. I'm using a knucklehead. I'm using a 15 reflector. And here I've got a grip head. And there we go. Now look what I'm doing. I'm now mounting this to this. Our light is raking the window like we saw before. And just think about, again, imagine this window being really high up. So there's no way to come here except from the inside, looking out, opening up the windows, and mounting this from the inside nicely and securely. Okay, now I take the reflector and see in the back wall, wow, I actually can use the raking from the light to get really nice hot spots and stuff coming inside the wall. I'm using another one. And just to be sure, we've got some safeties over there, some thin ones. Could you please give me one? Okay, because obviously just think about we're really high up, so we don't want to do this without any safeties. Really important. As soon as you're high up, people are working with this. We actually want to add safeties to this. Really important. So this is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to be adding a safety just so we know we're on the safe side. And I'm too stupid to do this today. Here we go. So I go like this, just use any kind of a thing, and then you go into here with the carabiner, and then you're safe. So if somebody opens it and it falls down, it won't fall down from the top of the from the building all the way down. That's the reason we have these holes here, right? So you can actually add the carabiners and move a reflector nice and easy on side of the wall. I'm going to do the same thing again from here. I'm going to be tightening this, opening up the knucklehead. Really great. And now I just can move it around and position the reflector where I need it. I'm going to do this again. Thank you so much. Just that we don't show anything that you wouldn't be doing on a real job where you have to be safe. There you go. Really high up. Suddenly we have light on the window. Inside the room, even we can't place a light from outside the room, and it's going to feel like it's coming from outside because we're raking the window. And we're not only raking the window, we are in fact raking the reflectors as well. That's a really cool and easy way to light into a window where actually you can place lights outside. I hope this is clear and understandable. That's what it does. Got some questions here just to make sure. What do I mean by raking? So raking means this here. I'm taking the light away, and I'm panning it to the window. So I'm raking basically the light on the window to the inside, and I'm catching the reflectors with light, and now they're coming inside. So this light, just think about you're shooting in the 3rd floor. You can't place any lights outside because it just goes straight down. Take a strong light, an M90 or whatever, put it down below, push it up. Use the thickness of the walls or use the wood that's available from the windows to clamp on the reflectors and push some light inside. And all of a sudden you have the feeling you've got beautiful, nice sunny spots coming into a room from outside where you can't place any lights. So I hope this makes sense. Perfect. Jacob, how have you been? I've been very well, thank you. I've been on holiday and now it's really hot and I'm really excited to be back talking to all of you. How this stand the stand called? I'm sure. Sorry, guys. You gotta take a little bit of time. I'll take all the time in the world to answer your questions. I just need to really understand them. What's the best way to shape with this setup? So there's two things. It's an excellent question. One is by raking the window with the light below, you can decide how much fill light you want in the room because you're bouncing off the ceiling, right? Like I showed in the box before. Then by mounting how many reflectors you want onto the window and deciding which diffusion level you want, you can really decide which sunny spots you want. You want something softer coming in, and that's basically it. And because you're still in the space of the wall, you won't have any wind issues, which is really important when you're shooting high up. Please show over all out. I don't understand this. How does the size of the reflector affect the light inside? Well, it's a small reflector, so you get a small spot, right? So this is really great to use like in backgrounds where you want to have sunny spots. You can have actors walking through it too. Of course, we don't want to do this in this little setup, but you could put 50s out here too if you have really nice strong poles that can hold it. Maybe even if you go to bigger reflectors, there's a way you can screw into the walls, if that's possible, to really secure it and make it fix. Or here in Austria, we have a lot of double windows, so windows on the outside and the inside, which gives you a lot of woodwork where you actually can clamp onto. Yeah, you can use RGB lights too. I mean, you know, again, this is a theoretical setup, right? In here in the studio, this is going to be enough light. If you're shooting on location, you've got all the daylight coming in, you will want to use a stronger light source. And the further your light source is away, the better it is, the more punchier it is, because you want to have all your light coming up, raking this beautiful window and the reflectors, of course. Haha, yeah, I'm doing my best. I'm not going to blush now. I have the old original reflectors. Don't you think they have holes in them? Can't recall, safe to drill holes? No, thanks for the question, Justin. No, we've always had this safety hose. We did this even before we came out with it because that was just really important for the safety and the security. Same thing again with the wedges in the back too. If you're rigging this outside, there is a special option for rigging wedges. They are made out of metal. So if you have big rigs that stay out for a long time, or you know there's a lot of wind, I recommend taking away the safety wedge that breaks at a 0.5 kilonewton and actually put on a rigging wedge. You can get it, it's a little sack and you screw it on and it's done. Okay, I love the question about the stands. Let's jump to the next part where we're going to talk exactly about that. This setup could also work with available sunlight. Yeah, of course. If the sun, you know, it also depends how long you're shooting, right? So if you know the sun's off the window already and you know you have enough time still to work with it, of course you could use the sunlight too. I mean, this light is really just representing what we're trying to do here. This is a small light. It's a Felix Q5. If you're doing this outside, you should definitely use a bigger light source to do this. But let's go to the great question of the stands. So let's do this. So we're going to take this portion out now. We're going to lose our window. And now we're going to bring in the C100. So really important thing about the C100, right? So when we start to use bigger reflectors, which one is the ideal size reflector normally to use on shoot? Well, you know, it really depends what you want to do. I've had a lot of fun with small reflectors doing exactly what I showed you right now on commercials, on features. If you really depend on the light coming in through the window, if you really depend on the fact of saying, look, I need big, powerful light sources coming in, I do recommend using the C100s. They are the workhorses. That is actually what customers are using the most, exactly for that reason. Okay, so here we go. C100 reflector. 1 by 1 meter reflector is great to light in from outside of the window inside because you got a certain amount of surface, a certain amount of volume of light you can push in. Now, because you want to use them outside, we really made these for outdoor rigging. So what does this mean? One thing is, if you use a stand and you raise it high up and you want to move it around, the friction's going to open. Not on what we actually made and invented here for rigging with reflectors. Let me see if there's a question that came up. Increase ambient on the room only with CRLS. Let's answer this with the C100, how we can increase the ambient in the room just using CRLS. Okay, here we go. So, really important is on the C100, we have holes on all 4 corners, which means you can add sash onto this. Why do we want this? Because now obviously you can put on the ropes, And I'll put my foot on here too. And now you can use the ropes to manipulate the angle of light. And you see what's happening here with the lock levers? They're moving with the C100. So this actually means that the lock lever will move with it. And now you can use this. And to answer your question, sir, if you contact Tiana, they're in Mumbai. They're fantastic dealers of ours. And of course, they've got all your gear and they're willing to do demos for you so you can try it. Can you mimic rigging if camera were to face towards the window? Yes, of course, we'll do this. I'll walk you through the positions. What we did and we looked at before was obviously not shooting out the window, of course, right? We were trying just to get some light inside. So to come back to the point, we are now moving the reflector, nice and easy. And now what we're going to do is we're going to raise it up. So when you're shooting outside, right, because the question came up about the stands, the beefier the better. And if you ask the people at Matthews, they're going to give you great ideas what stands is going to be best, to use. But just as a rule of thumb, the beefier the better. Use high quality stands like the Matthews stands, because what's really dangerous is if things open up, if the screws don't hold and the reflector's really high up, you don't want this thing to come down. So you need to be able to rely on your gear, especially if you take the reflector high up. So here's the thing with the ropes, right? Again, let's pretend we're up 10 feet, 15 feet. And I use the rope because I'm all the way down. I'm a small person right now. I'm looking up at the reflector and we're trying to discuss the angle to light into the wall. So Etienne already pushed this into here again. Yeah, there we go. Actually, we can spot it a little bit on the side here. Get a little bit more push. It's also something, if you use a Fresnel, you can spot it and flood it, so you get a little bit of a better effect, right? More push inside the room. So what I'm doing now is I'm deciding the angle, right, to come into the room. Perfect. The screws don't open up on us. The C100 is a perfect job for this. But again, we're always afraid of wind, right? This is high up. This is a big surface. We do have a beefy stand. We secured it with sandbags and everything that we needed to do. But at the same time, we need to make sure this really works well. So there's one thing you can do. You decide the angle. And now you can use these ropes to secure it down. So you take these ropes and you really tie it down like this, right? And now what you actually have is additional to what's happening here just from the reflector itself. You're using these ropes to really secure it and tie it down. So this is a great double use of the sash that you have here, not only to really decide the angle, but also to secure it down to the stand. Okay, there you go. I hope that answers the questions for the single reflector. Of course, as we looked at in the box, you now can move the reflector around to decide in which angle you want to light in. Now here's the thing, you see what happened? I moved the reflector, but suddenly the light's gone, of course, because I need to move the light source with it to light inside. So that becomes a standard part of your setup. As soon as you start moving this reflector around, Etienne's going to do this now, he's going to come over here, boom, and now again we can light into the room. So this is just a standard way of doing things. If you're moving the reflector down on the stand, you can light inside. How does the tilt on the reflector lock? Great question. You do not need to lock it. And that is what I'm so really proud of, what we invented for the C100. You do not lock a reflector anymore. In fact, what you do is, that's really an excellent question, thank you. I'll bring this down again. This lock lever, even if it's called lock lever, becomes your friction setting. You decide, depending on the wind, deciding how much you want to move this thing, you decide on both sides the friction. And then when the friction is set, this reflector becomes really hard to move. Or if you say, man, I really need more control, I just tighten it a little bit. Suddenly this becomes really easy to decide. And again, this friction setting that you set will always stay in this friction setting. So this is the really important thing. Hi there, amazing guys. It's so great to see all of you again. This is exclusive on Instagram only. We did try to push the Instagram feed onto YouTube, and a lot of people were complaining about the quality, because this is about time that we're having together and we can share stuff, so it's not something that should be more than that. And you can go onto Instagram to look at it, of course. It is saved and you can look at it. Okay, there we go. We've got so many people on today, it's incredible. So here we go. That was the 100, and now we can light into a room and we can decide what we saw with the small box where we want to go. So let's look at the next trick, right? Let's go. We bring in the box again. Here we go. And boom, we light inside. We did this little bit of raking. I'm going to take this away again a little bit. There we go. And what you looked at before was single, right? We light inside the room. But now you say, Jacob, this is all cool, but I need light here in the front, right? I say, no problem, because you see the field of light here? We actually have enough light, so I can bring a second reflector. I can bring it, and I can give you a second light. Now, isn't that amazing? It's not only one on the window, also, with a second reflector, I can put one onto the front. Now, it is a technique that's called cross-lighting. What does that mean? That means you use one reflector to light the front, and the second one to light the back. And you see how I can actually decide, let me see what I'm doing. I can go here, and I can make one light source out of it. I can intensify it, and I can spread it apart. There we go. And now I can bring it together. And now I can spread it apart. So you can have one spot at the front, one at the back, or you just can cross-light it, and now you can come into the windows. You can also go further away, one really to the front, and one all the way to the back. Now that's something I do want to show you from the side. So here we go. Here's our window, right? So if I cross-light, I've got one reflector here, the other one here. I'm lighting the whole room. But you see what I'm doing at the same time? You actually can shoot out the window because no reflector is in the way of your shot. So this is something that just so much makes sense. It's a standard way of lighting. It's not something that was invented by Lightbridge or CRLS. Cross-lighting has been around for a long time, but it becomes so much more efficient doing this with the reflectors. So let's have a quick look, again, in the practical world. What this looks like. So we bring up one light source. Again, if you do this, it of course makes sense to, again, flood the light like Etienne, who knows what he's doing, did. And now we bring in the second reflector. And now we can cross-light. And we have the same thing set up again. One from the left, one from the right. You can cross-light, you can spot it, you can flood it out a little bit. You can do whatever it takes to do. Now what you see over here is one side is uncovered and the other side is covered, right? So that's the reason we have these protection pads. Because sometimes rain comes down, maybe there's a tree here and you're going to be pushing into the tree. So that's the reason we have these protection pads. So actually you won't get any scratches in on the back. So we recommend having this on. Just in terms of, you know, not scratching the thing and keeping your system alive as long as possible. How do you lower the intensity of the light of the director without dimming the light itself? Is there a way? I love this question. Okay, I have to go back because I have to tell a small story. We're going to be running late today. Okay, so here's the thing. I have to take both of it out again. So this question is really good. I want to actually do this again. Can we bring in the wall again? So we had the raking of the window, right? Now we mounted this. The first time I did this was on a commercial. And once again, there was no space to do any rigs outside. We were doing like 10 locations a day. We had to run really fast. I had teams preset the stuff up. And everybody promised me, Jacob, we will finish in daylight. We don't have any money for over hours. The same thing over and over again. So we built this because there was no other way and lit inside. And as you can imagine, what did happen? Of course we ran late. And we were losing daylight outside. So here was the problem. From take to take, my DP had opened up the f-stop, a quarter open, another quarter open. Just every shot, you know, the sun was going down. And you know how it is? When you light artificially and you're blending this together with skylight, you have to have a balance to make this work. Now, if you lose the balance from the daylight, this will look artificial really fast. And that's the reason this question is so great about how can it change now the intensity of the light if this is not an LED, if this has to be an HMI down below, because you can't dim the thing. And we don't want to use scrims because we're opening up the f-stop step by step, trying to maintain the balance. It's a real simple way. I was on the walk. I had one guy down below at the light source. And the only thing he did is we were raking the window using a lot of bounce inside. I said, quarter f-stop open, pan out the light a little bit. Done. Another quarter f-stop open. Pan it out again. And in the same way that we were losing daylight, we were just panning out the reflector, using less and less of the raking of the window, balancing out what we were doing. And we were able to maintain really almost perfectly the same light levels for 1.5 an hour longer. When we were shooting with kids, obviously it was a big stress. So instead of dimming the light source, when you're raking it and you're using the bounce of the ceiling, you're using the reflectors, just by panning this light source out, you have a really beautiful chance to dim your light. Actually, it's something you can do. If you take a reflector into your hand, you can dim it. You can put it into the center, maximum amount. You take the reflector out. It's going to feel like you're dimming the light source. We looked at this in previous Instagram lives. So basically, it's the same idea, just now we're playing it on a bigger scale. I hope this answers the question. Okay, now we got to move on. Now I need my memory cards over here, the 100s. Okay, so what we had over here, sorry, we got to bring this in to keep the balance. So we bring in just one reflector is fine. Remember, we looked at one reflector, and then we actually brought in the second one, and we were cross-lighting the room. Yes, there are going to be situations where you say, ma'am, Jacob, I got to look out the window, and all the stuff's in the way, right? So now we get to the period where you say, okay, we cannot use stands anymore. We maybe can cross-light. We can come all the way to the side, one here, one from the other direction. At this point, when you're getting to such an extreme, like I'm doing right now, for example, Etienne will have no more chance now to do this with one light source. So if you know you're going to be running into this, now is the time to bring on a second light. One light for one reflector. Real simple and easy. They stay down below, and that's the reason you're going to get maximum efficiency. But of course, yes, the light is not coming straight into the room. And how can we do this? We do this with overheads, right? So overheads come in a lot of different kinds of ways, but basically what it means is you take two stands, you put a pipe over it, you hang the reflector, and now the reflector is all the way up here, and your stands are like when we were cross-lighting, all the way on the sides. On the bigger shows that we do, of course, we're going to use rigs. So just to give you an idea of how this looks like, we're going to carry this in. Okay, and now we're going to lower it down. We prepared some tricks today. We thought just because it's summer and a normal cruise in here, we're going to push even harder. Okay, you can come down further. Yeah, down. Further. Stop. There you go. Okay, so now we're actually really lighting into the window. You see that? Boom. I can put the light source on here. The stands are out of the way, and we're good to go. So there's one thing that I want to show you. Abel, if you pan up for a second, just to show how it's rigged. See, this is just the pipe that we just mounted on the top. Of course, you could crossbar this so you have two stands. You could put trusses up so you can hang them. But at some point, when you decide at your level of intensity, and you're looking out the window, you're not going to want to have the ropes, right? So at this point, it might make sense not to use thick ropes like we're using right here just to demonstrate it better, but actually you can use thin black ropes. And you know, you really get away with a lot doing it like this. So you just use this thin black ropes. If it's a little bit in the background, it's going to overexpose. You're not going to see it. But if you still start to see it, you've got to take the ropes away. That's fine because we set the level. But there's one thing we can do if you then tell me, Jacob, I need a light coming a little bit from one direction or the other. If we cannot move the reflector anymore, we still can use the light. We still can move the light, right? Because ingoing angle is to outgoing angle. It's that simple. So before, I'd love to get back to these questions. I just want to show this. If I move the light source over here, I'm going to get a different angle as if I move the light source over here, and I got a different angle to over here. So that's where you still got control over what you're doing. If this is too windy, stuff's happening, just go to the side where we've got the big plastic, put a methylene on here, go up with a gobo arm, tie it up to the top, and this thing's not going to move off on you. We've shot on oceans coming in with Gale Force 1, and this stayed up. And we didn't even cross-slide. We used 3 reflectors for each window on the big show we were doing. Okay, to come back to the questions. Does the reflector on the light in this product influence some color shifts? No, really important. Our reflectors are professional gear. Our reflectors give you precise diffused light in one direction, only 3% light loss, 100% color consistency. Really important. I have to see if I can actually scrub back up here. Sorry guys, I lost 2 more questions. If you wouldn't mind reposting them, for whatever reason I can't scrub up here to look at the questions. What pattern do you follow on windy day if I'm putting cookie patterns through a window? So how can I control the reflector? Great question too. If you're shooting outside and you're lighting inside, wind's always going to become an issue, right? So what do? One thing I really try to do is I try to use diffusion 2s. Diffusion 2s are like light sources. They pan, you even can put them on cranes. They will work a little bit in the wind, but they will not change anymore like you see this flimsiness when you have a real mirror outside and it's working like this. So if you can use a diffusion 2, it's no issue. If you have to use a diffusion 1 or a real mirror replacement, diffusion 0 or a real mirror in that fact, you just got to tie the thing down. And sometimes you have to put up a truss, even if it's like with 2 stands left and right, and really tie it down just to get the wind out of the way. Because the higher up it is, the more you got that angle. Would it be better to use mirrors to reflect as reflectors may eat up the light, cause the diffused light too? Well, you know, here's the thing. That's the reason we have the full range of reflectors, from diffusion 0 to diffusion 4. We cover the full range from something that's already been out there, a real mirror, to diffusion 4, super wide. We have whites as well. The reason we have this grade of diffusions is so we actually have a chance to decide, do I want to go harder, do I want to go softer? So that's the reason we actually did this. And you know, light loss, yes, you will lose it because the light's diffusing more, but at that point it becomes an aesthetic question, I think, much more than a question of how much light loss you have. If you have a reflector up high and you have a light source down below, you always can put that light source, for example, on a crank stand. So if you see I don't have enough light, you actually can come up higher with the light source, so you actually get more intensity again. So that's also a good way, not just to put into floor stands like this, but actually to come up with the light source closer into the reflector to get more pushback. That also helps. How heavy are the CRLS compared to old reflectors? We balanced them out. They are much less weight than a standard mirror. I can't tell you exactly what the pounds difference is, but a C100 reflector you can pick up alone, you can put it on a stand, and off you go. So I hope that helps. So yeah, we developed all this stuff on set, right? So everything was about, we developed this in Austria, so it was about not always huge crews, so we actually had to have the chance to go left to right, and one guy had to be outside, or one woman had to be outside and actually do it themselves. So we had to figure that one out. Do you think technicalities of lighting overpower the vision of the story? You know, it's a good question. At the end of the day, I think that the technical aspect of filmmaking may never stand in the way of the story. And that's the reason we streamlined, and that's the way it actually, the idea of the CRLS came about, was to say we need an intuitive lighting tool that actually gives you the chance to manipulate light, to work with it, but not give you the set feeling on the set for actors, for directors, that the technical part is overpowering it. We want to make the light flow, get the most use out of the lights, just to have, you know, as least as amount of technical issues in the way. And it's silent. Even like after the first take, you need to do a change, you can quickly jump in and do something. You don't have any rattling frames. So that's where the mindset of the CRLS came about, because the DP, Christian Berger, who first had the idea, came from documentaries, and it was so important for him working with actors and actresses that actually doesn't become an issue. So that's where it came about. I hope that answers it. Yeah, so that's the way we hang the reflectors. In our case here in the studio, it's easy. We got motor chains, so we're just going to take it back up again. And see, again, was a great question before. We do not lock this. We just set the friction. And up we go. Up. Perfect. So there we go. So now we got a clear set again. We know how we can light from the upside. We know actually how we can put lights down below. If we're not looking out the window, we can put the 100s in front of it, or we actually can use the wall thickness, the scrunchion, to actually get small little bits of lights coming in. But here's the thing again. I'll hold. How does a gaffer work with a DP? Do gaffers plan the lighting set the most? It depends on the job. It's art. It really matters how you can create the vision. Some DPs work different than others. I think the most important thing about being a professional gaffer is being able to adapt to the DP. My job is to serve the DP. My job, all of our job here at the Lightbridge, is to serve you guys out there. That's what we do. And that's the way it actually has to be done, in my personal, humble opinion. Okay, we hold our thought over here. And coming back to the point that I understand the question, Jacob, I know you're talking about bit 18Ks, you're talking about rigs. We also talked about, you know, small setups, but still, what do I do if I just have a small balcony and I still want to create this distance of light and I don't have any other thing I can do? Thank you so much for those kind words. So one other thing we can do is, and if able, just pans down, we have something very common all over the world, small balconies. So just imagine, again, we're standing on the outside, And this red line represents our balcony. We don't have a lot of space to light. We're carrying up all our stuff with the hand. It's a small shoot or, you know, whatever it is. We have to shoot in this location. So we actually have to build stuff up here, right? So how do we create the feeling this light is really far away? Because just to point this out again, if we're shooting in the 4th floor and the light's all the way down and the reflector's all the way up here, the light's going to feel far away, right? Because virtually our light travels up and then it goes in. So we're doubling our distance. The light feels far away. That's the reason, like we saw in the box, there's no fall off, there's parallel shadows. But if we can't put the light far away and we can't put the reflector far away, well, you know, it's still physics, which actually means that we have to do whatever we can to recreate this. So this is a great thing, and we could talk a lot about all the different kinds of boom arms that are out there, and in this case, I'm just taking one we haven't used a lot. There's a small little boom arm here. You also could use a Max Mini, you could use a Max Menace arm. You could build many different kinds of ways of doing this. Here's a small little one from Matthews, and it's called a baby mate boom. Sorry, Matthews. So it's lightweight, you can carry it, you just put it into your stand, something you just can carry up in an elevator, nice and easy. And what we're going to do here is, because we don't have a lot of space, Etienne, what he already did is he already put the light into one corner, and so we're going to put the reflect into the other corner, right? Because we want to create the most possible distance. Another question came in? Okay, yeah. Thanks for helping answering the questions. Okay, so here we go. Light feels natural if it's really far away. And if we don't have a lot of space and we still want to make it feel far away, the biggest trick is to use reflectors. But to optimize this trick, what we're going to do is, like Etienne, he went to the furthest corner and he put the light there. And I'm going to go into the other corner to actually light into the room, right? So, but still, we want to get the light into the middle of the room. So what do? Is we use this boom arm. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take it out further. And just because we're talking about grip here, we have to do safety. So could you please bring me a sandbag? So we just secure everything. And look at this. So here we are. We have our boom arm. We can look outside the window. Depending on the angle how we're shooting, we can go higher up, we can go further down. But you see, if Abel pans down again and you show the reflector is actually, it's going way down because our balcony ends here. And again, because we're talking about grip, we need to do a safety here. So we'll put a safety on. That's the reason we got the holes. That's the reason we have rigging wedges, if necessary, because we want to secure all gear. Because if you're thinking you're standing on the balcony, it's kind of scary, right? It goes all the way down. People are walking below. You have to shoot up here. And suddenly you want to pan out this boom. That's the big one. I need a small one for it. So in all our kits, right, you've got grip bags. And in the grip bags, you're going to have original safeties. Because we had a carabiner we have on the original safeties. There we go, perfect. This carabiner over here. This actually fits perfectly into the hole. And that's the whole idea behind it. So basically what we do is we secure however we want to do it. And then we use the carabiner and we hang it into the reflector. And that's a really important safety feature. We always have to think out when we're rigging, safety first, right? That's what we have to look at. So there we go. We're going to light into the room, just like this, and see what I can do. I can do this from the light source, and Etienne's panning the light accordingly so nothing happens. And we got the full control over here by using the boom arm. I can pan up and down, and I'm really far out the window. So I love these boom arms just for this reason. It's super light. I'm out of the shot, and I can get the light where I need it. Done. And if I'm standing in here, in the room, see, the light's in my face. It feels really far away, although we're only actually on a really small balcony. And we did this with gear you can easily carry up. You can put into a lift. And the actors or the actresses, they actually now can move to the window. You can give I can give the DP as a gaffer, or you as a DP can give the director the chance actually to let the scene play. You can walk towards the window because the light feels far away. It doesn't feel sourcey when you come closer to the window. It's going to overexpose because, oh my God, I got, I'm walking into a light source. Because we're using the CRLS Precision Reflectors, we're actually creating a beautiful distance of the light to let it travel. So, this is my spiel for today. I hope you liked it. If any questions come up, I talked really fast because I was worried we wouldn't get through our topics today. If there's any questions now that came up, then that's actually done. I love doing a lot of work. That's just me. That's the way it is. on that part. But the really important thing is I hope that it helps, and I hope it gives you some inspiration. You can go out and you actually can use in your jobs. Can I use this reflector with big lights like an M90? Does it melt? No, it does not. Those reflectors have 3% light loss. What does this mean? This means that only 3% get turned into heat. So you can bang an 18K into this in full spot. Nothing's going to happen. We did this like with 18 feet distance, 18K full spot into it. It's all going to be good. We use this all the time. We developed this stuff for 15 years on set before we felt it was good enough to share this with colleagues. I've done small productions, big productions as a gaffer, and we tested it all out. So it's going to be all good. And I hope you feel the same way using it on set. The color render question came up for the second time. It's really important. We produce gear that is not a standard reflector. This is not something where you say you go to your local warehouse, you get something shiny, you take your mother's pot onto set and you create a little reflection. What we actually do here is professional gear. They're precision reflectors. What does this mean? We have a full range from diffusion 0, a real mirror placement, to diffusion 4 super wide with 3 precise steps in between. Only 3% light loss. They're spill light free. You get diffused light that go into a specific direction, and, which is really important because it is professional gear, there's no shift in colors. None. So what does this mean? I ran into a situation, for example, you can use them with sodium vapors. You just can put them outside into a street light, extend it, it's going to 100% like this. I first, when we started working on this and, you know, the coatings and which qualities do we need, I had a setup with a KinoFlow, and we took the KinoFlow tubes out and we replaced them with old fluorescent tubes. We needed this nitty-gritty look. And I put the honey grate back on again. It was all good, second take, and suddenly the director decided the actor has to move more to the side, right? So suddenly the person was moving out of the light. And I was already all back in the corner with the image 80. So the only thing I could do is I could take a reflector, 90 degrees coming into the KinoFlow, to extend the light to go exactly where it needed to go. You know what's crazy? I used the diff 1, right? So KinoFlows give you a soft fluorescent light, and it's going to be a little bit more punchy with diffusion 1. I could have used the diffusion 2, but that's what I needed for the push. But because the color is so consistent, I bought it. And that's the most important thing about it. We first look at the color quality, and if we think it's good, then we actually look at hardness and stuff. So that's the way our brain works. And that's the reason it's so important to do what we did. How can we get harder light in the setup? You go down the range of diffusions. For one. So if you have a diffusion 3 or a diffusion 2 that we're using here, you want to go harder because you want more sunlight, you go to diffusion 1 or you can go to diffusion 0. And if it's too hard, you can go back up again. So that's the reason. Having this pack of 5 reflectors, and you just can go back and forth. It's like playing an instrument. I want a higher note, I want a lower note. And you can go up and down on this. The other thing you can do is you can go to smaller reflector. The smaller the reflector, the more punchier it's going to be too, because you don't have as much wraparound. So those are the 2 ways actually can manipulate the push of the light source. So much for this question. I hope this answers this. Yeah, any final questions? If none, I want to always put out, if you have anything you want to see, like for example, this session today came out of the fact that there were requests, how do I rig outside for windows? So please let us know what you want to see. More questions came up. If you use similar reflector in the setup as used, will it look more distant? If you use a smaller reflector in the setup, nah, it won't look smaller. It would look punchier. If you use a smaller reflector, if you want to feel more distance, you could do a double reflection. You could first go into one punchy one, then into the second one. That would make the light feel further away. So that would work too. Can I point the light direct at the window at an angle instead of bouncing it? Yeah, you can do anything you want, whatever fits your mood, of course. As we show, you can rake it, you can go direct, you can use a reflector, anything. Can you tell me more about how you mounted the reflector to a boom? Oh, that was easy. Let's do this. There's different ways to do this. I just want to come closer so Ebru has a chance. So what we have here for the 50s is just a gobo head. And from the gobo head, I'm just going to release the safety. From the gobo head, we go on to, can you pan the light out away from the lens? Thanks. We have a C-wheel, and the C-wheel has a mounting on the back. So you just open this up, and then you push it out, and then you go back in again, sliding wedge, done, and you fix and you mount it. You can go into knuckleheads, you can go onto infinity arms, into magic arms, anything you need to do to mount it. This comes in a spigot and in a receiver version. So in this case, a C-wheel, as you can see it here, gives you both chances. How to clean it, hold up in harsh, dusty condition with number washes. Yeah, so here's the thing, in dusty conditions, you always have to clean at the end, you have to wash it down, use isopropanol, we have cleaning instructions, we have cleaning kits coming with it. If you have dust and sand with it, oh, look at this. Here we have rags, we've got isopropanol, so what you can do is you just, I'm winging it, there you go, cheers mate. And then you just go like this and you clean it down. So you do not want to do this in dusty conditions. Why? Because you're going to have sand on here, you're going to have dust on here, and you're going to scratch it in. So if you're shooting in dusty environments, first take some water, pour it over it, get all the dust off, and then clean it off. That's the way to do it. I want to start learning lighting, plus suggest me any easy book to start studying. Is really hard. There are a lot of books out there. Everyone, there's better ones, there's worse ones, but you can. I can't really recommend one book. I learned it all on set. That's the reason I'm doing this Insta Lives, because I don't have this go-to book for you to learn lighting. The best thing you can do is take your iPhone or whatever camera you have, go outside and shoot stuff you like. Look at it. Look at paintings. Look at images. See what you like in the lighting, and then you can go back to recreating it. I think that's the best way to learn what you're liking in light and not to be focused too much on the technical stuff first on. Can you do a night scene setup next time? Thanks for the question. We can definitely look at some nighttime stuff, of course. Yeah, YouTube, yeah, please go onto our Instagram account. You can rewatch the session, all of our sessions there that we did over the last couple of years, so you can see what's going on. Yeah. I'm sure I missed a couple of questions. It's going so fast right now with the ins and the outs. Yeah, you can learn a lot from the sun. The reflectors came from watching nature and what it can do. Leonardo da Vinci was looking at the sun and saw what it can do. But again, watching great movies, there's so many amazing masters out there, you know, working or have been working, and so we can learn a lot just by doing that. And just go to your favorite bookstore and look to. I'm sure there's a lot of books out there that make sense too. Working for second, third floor windows. Everything I showed you today works for all window sizes. We didn't show a crane, obviously. That would be a little bit too much for us in a small little studio. But all the setups we did here, you actually can recreate. If you have a little bit of imagination, you don't think about the floor, you can do it like that. Good. You know what? I think we're just going to end this for today. Please let us know on Instagram. We take pride that we answer from Monday to Thursday within 24 hours. Anything comes up, just hit us a note. I really want to say a big shout out to our amazing team today with Etienne, with Evo, and with John. Thank everybody for helping here, making this all possible. Thank you all for joining, for being a part of this. We had an amazing amount of people on here today. Yeah, if anything comes up, we're here to support. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Have a great evening. We're going to open up a beer now. Have a good one. Bye. Stop. We're out.